Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with
the professor.
Wrestling. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dave, one of the professors of wrestling, and today I'm sitting down talking to Mr. Saturday Night, Jarrod Michaels. How are you doing, Jarrod?
Good. How are you?
I am good. It's exciting. It's even in this COVID era. It's starting to kind of feel like it's getting back to normal.
Yeah, man. It'd be great if we could get over the masks and hand washing. It's not a bad thing to wash your hands, but maybe we can get back to normal life.
I'm hoping. I'm feeling the hope with all the vaccinations going on.
That's
but
right.
Thank you for taking time and coming out to doing this.
Elbow bump.
Off. I would.
Thank you.
Had to get the jacket out of the dry cleaner.
It's a nice jacket too, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One question we like to ask and get into it is, what got you into wrestling?
So, graduating high school, I'm your typical knucklehead kid. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm an athlete in high school. Obviously, I'm not 6'6" and 300 pounds. I lived over in the St. Mary's area. I actually went to Camden County High School there at the end, and I started riding, you're going to like this, a mechanical bull at a bar. On Friday nights, they had a prize, and I'd go in there, and it beat making $4.25 an hour at my McDonald's job in high school. So I quit that, started riding this bull at this bar. And a wrestling promoter from the Jacksonville area just happened to come in, saw me and some of my other buddies. We're watching, as a matter of fact, the King of the Ring '98, where Mick Foley threw himself off. The night we were there watching it, 18-year-old kid, me, the guy says, "Hey, would you guys like to train to wrestle?" Well, of course we'd like to train to wrestle, sure. A couple weeks later, we meet the guy. We go down to his warehouse, took like a duck to water. He had a show that did several towns in the area, Callahan, Fernandina, Yulee, put us on, and within 6 months we were wrestling. So, and I just went from there. But it was something I always liked as a kid. In the 80s, I'm 41. So, I was an NWA guy more than I was a
I think
WWE.
everybody down south.
Yeah, and I'm
NWA until like TBS, and I got it from the Midwest.
Yeah,
so.
I'm from Fort Lauderdale originally.
Mm-hmm.
So, but NWA Florida, Championship Wrestling from Florida. But NWA was more real to me. Those guys looked like real people. Obviously, the Hulk Hogan's, and you enjoyed watching it as a kid. But like Arn Anderson looked legitimately tough. Ole Anderson, Ronnie Garvin,
Harley Race.
Harley Race. Yeah, he was at the tail end. But yeah, him. Everybody wanted to hate Ric Flair, but you wanted to be him. Obviously, we fit into that. Road Warriors. It was just so many of those guys on that show. As a kid, as I was 8, 9, 10 years old, so I was an NWA guy. So I watched it all the way through. The mid-'90s wrestling kind of dipped anyway. It wasn't that exciting. I broke in right before the Attitude Era hit. I was watching it, but not like within 6 months everybody was, Steve Austin and NWO and all. So.
Which is oh my gosh, The Rock.
Yeah,
all that.
yeah. That before the big blow up, I had made the indie.
So you caught the second bubble of wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
So you saw it, what it was pre Attitude Era, and then you saw the decline after the Attitude Era as well. And
the good thing about it, and I said before, when the show on Monday night is doing well, independent wrestling does well. Everybody wants to get out and see it. I don't know why that's the case. So when I first started wrestling, 98, 99, 2000, any town we went to, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, even we did 2 shows on Sundays in Stockbridge and LaGrange, up in that area, we'd have 400 or 500 people, all indie guys. But because the Monday night show was so hot and the wars were so hot, people couldn't get enough of it.
Do you think it's reversed now, that when the indies are doing well, the majors do, because it's a different world than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I think the majority of the fans that watch the bigger show are indie fans, because a lot of it's the smart marks.
Yeah.
I guess that's they're never going to go away. You're always going to have the smart mark fans. The problem is the casual fans not watching. So the indies are full. Ring of Honor has always been. That's why they do well. They do well because smart marks watch wrestling, Doesn't matter if it's up, down. Mainstream media may not do well with it, but those people are always going to be there.
Right. So those not familiar with Mr. Saturday Night, I mean, how would you describe yourself?
At this point in my life, a lot more humble. I was a jerk, no question about it. I was probably in the locker room. I mean, on camera, absolutely. In the locker room, everybody wanted to work with me, but we didn't hang out. And I think some of that you have to have if you're going to be successful in wrestling. But as I started having kids and became an adult, it took me a while. It took me till I was 35 to become an adult probably. But I was really good at it, and I knew it, and that's probably the worst thing that can happen to somebody, because that's like real heat. When I go in the back and go, watch this, how good I am, and then I do it, you know what I mean? It bothers people. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of us that have done it, but I was one of those guys.
You're rubbing people wrong.
Yeah, I rubbed a lot. And promoters, I've worked for probably every main promoter there is in Florida and Georgia and probably a little west of that. And same thing. They brought me in, wanted me on top, but, man, we weren't pals by no stretch. We weren't friends.
So how did you get the Mr. Saturday Night moniker?
I earned that one. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't into the drug scene. I'm naturally outgoing anyway. When the shows are over, you go out to the bar with the rest of the guys and get, drunk or whatever your vice was. I didn't really have one. Women were probably my vice. I like them still.
That seems to be a popular one.
Yeah, I still like them a lot, even at 41. And so I would stay up all night. Like, I'd be up. I'd be banging on hotel room doors, just having fun or whatever. And so one of the guys that we roomed with saw me one Sunday morning after we'd stayed up all night and after a wrestling show, and he said, "Oh, there's Mr. Saturday Night." He stayed up, but I did that every night. He could have probably called me any night, and that was me.
Day ending in Y.
Yeah. Any day ending in Y, and I dated who I wanted to. I just lived like a gypsy wrestling life, man. It was something I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it was.
Do you feel like a little smarter for the experience?
Yeah. I feel smarter for it. Made some mistakes,
right?
But I wouldn't trade any of it. I like, I wouldn't be who I am had I not done those things.
You've had 31 championships in your entire wrestling career. How does something like that happen? Because when you hear that many championships, obviously Ric Flair comes to mind in one person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on this scale, it's 31. I've worked for probably 11 or 12 of the biggest promotions, and I worked on top on all of them. Whether I came in and went on top or I worked my way, I always sort of ended up at the top of the card. And again, that rubbed a lot of the guys in the back wrong. But I mean, I was a really good wrestler. I could chameleon would be a good word. I could work with anybody, whether he was 400 pounds and couldn't move, I'd bump and sell for him. Or if he wanted to, lucha style, we could fly around. I was 200. I'm 265 now. I'm probably the smallest I've been in 15 years. But even at 300 pounds, I could get around really well. So I could work with anybody, and it's easy to put your belt on a heel that can work with all your baby faces.
Right.
And I left every territory better than I found it. And a lot of guys put me on top, and they took a chance on me. A lot of those promoters did. Jerry Stevens, Chris Turner. I mean, Bill Behrens, Burt Prentice. There's a lot of guys that put me, out there and put me on top, and I appreciate that. Now, I mean, I made them look good as hell when I got the chance, but still, they had to put me on top to do that. And so it became 31 titles. It sounds like a rib almost, and somebody else had to actually count it for me because I don't know. A couple times in promotions, I was a several-time champion, but all of them I always ended up working on top.
So between all those championships, working with all that talent, working with all the different promoters, what's your most memorable moment?
Not to mark out or anything, but Scott Steiner and I are really good friends. And I finally got a chance to work with him at Wild Adventures. We worked a show, and then my shoot brother, who's a worker, and Rick and Scott, they came in and tagged against us. And to stand in the ring and watch two guys that you idolize, I mean, everybody loved the Steiners. That's probably my biggest moment would be the first time I wrestled Scott, and then actually becoming, friends. We text, Merry Christmas, whatever. And everybody said what a jerk he was, and that's usually how it goes. The guys you hear
Right.
are the jerks, are the nice ones, and then the guys that you hear are the good guys, or they're peckerheads or whatever you want to call them. I don't know if you cuss, but yeah. So that'd probably be my favorite moment is the watching him come out of that curtain knowing that we were fixing to tie ass.
So like I guess it not true in this case is you could meet your idol and it worked out all right.
Yeah, he was in my top 5. If I had 5 guys when I was a teenager, when I first broke in,
right.
If I could have named 5 guys, he was in my 5. And he was always a great athlete when I was a kid, or the Frankenstein, the pile driver that he sat down with, just multiple moves. Like Scott Steiner was one of those guys that, a lot of people didn't care for him. I personally thought he was fantastic.
I think with a tag team, you always wonder if they do break up, who's going to be the one that is going to be able to handle their own. I think that creates a bit of. Yeah. I would imagine not ever been in a locker room in that situation. That probably did create problems and also create stories, whether they're true or not.
Yeah, I mean, and they were brothers for them. Right. My brother and I went through the same thing. We weren't a tag team because I've always been sort of greedy with the time in the ring. So, but we had a storyline in a couple places where we turned on. I would always turn on him, and it's real. It's easy to do. It's kind of like the David Goliath thing. Yeah. It's easy to sell a big guy versus small guy, baby heel. So brothers is too. One's jealous of the other.
Right, you have sibling rivalry.
Yeah. So it's a natural. It's an easy sell. That's all we're wrestling to me. And I want to get off your topic.
Oh, no worries.
But wrestling to me is a kind of sport. It's different than any other one. Not because of the predetermined out, but the fan interaction. Like football players don't turn to the crowd and work them up. I mean, you might when you score, but wrestling fans want to be entertained by what's in the ring, but they also want to be part of it.
Right.
Any match you see that's got the most reaction, probably somebody has done something to them, whether it's looked at them, winked, whatever.
Well, I think as a fan, you want that too, because I think we've a lot of people have been to that where it's just like they're just in there working it, and you're like, it's really boring.
There's nothing you can do short of killing somebody that hasn't been done. So you've seen it,
right?
But at least if I look over at you and I look at your wife and go, "Hey, baby," like that, you're pissed. She might really be looking, but that's great. We're interacting.
Right.
Now every move I do to this guy, you want me to get killed. You know what I mean? Like
I like it when a wrestler knows how to push those buttons to the right crowd and can really read an audience. And I think that's a really great sign of like you may not be the best, like you're still trying to get your in talent, your ring talent, but you figured out probably the most difficult part is the psychology part of it.
Yeah, and Tully Blanchard told me this one time. I hate to sound like I'm name dropping, but I asked him about psychology because he was a really great heel, and when I was a kid, and he said, make them scream the loudest, the longest. That's it. Because I was thinking I was going to get some kind of lesson here on how to work the crowd.
Right.
He said loudest, the longest, and I said, oh, okay.
Was that one of those lessons you're like, this does me no good? And then as the years go by, it makes more sense? Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense when you know what you need to do to make them scream loud without, throwing yourself off the top of a cage or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it made sense, but I was really looking for like a deep thought from somebody who was, made them scream the loudest, the longest for years, and that was his answer. So I mean, it was it's like painting, I guess. Once you get good at it, you're just it's just natural, and you're either good or you're not at this. And after so many years, and I would never want to be one of those guys. Speaking of the 31 titles, I don't want to mention any names, but I've had 2 guys that wrestled with me, started about the time I did, messaged me. They're both out of the business, and they said, I would have loved to have had one championship run somewhere, because I never think about it.
Right.
When you're living in your own shoes, you don't think about how good or bad anything is for someone else. So then it made me stop and go, 31 is a lot. I've been on top of a lot of wrestlers, and here he is, just wanted one and never got it.
So I think that's a great lead into what I want to ask next, is when you started out, what do you wish you known then that you know now? It's a hindsight question, I think.
I don't know. As far as inside the ring,
you can interpret it any way you want. It's open-ended.
I wish I'd have listened when they said don't take as many bumps. I think that's probably one that most guys that get into the business less is more. And I don't think you can tell. I mean, I try to tell young guys that, but then I'm also the guy that goes, I got told that too, and I still did what I wanted to. So,
Do you think that goes back to the hubris issue? And
yeah, that, and you just think you're indestructible when you're 21 years old. You know, I'm wrestling guys half my age now, and I'm like, I wouldn't do that. I'd slow down. Don't give it all to them. Make them come back. But at 21, I give them everything I had. You know what I mean?
We've seen, Tori and I've seen matches. I'm like, man, like save something because we want to see you become successful, and like we don't want to see like was that like 5 bumps you took just with that one ginormous bump that you're adding to your bump card? So
yeah, I mean, try to last longer. I mean, I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. I'll be honest with you. There's guys that are my age that they're not wrestling anymore because they can't. Some are crippled, some are dead, just from vices or whatever.
Right.
So I took more bumps than a lot of them, and I'm just lucky because it's not because I did anything right. I can assure you. So
sometimes it's dumb luck.
Yeah, I'll take it.
What advice would you give other than take less bumps if someone wanted to get into the business?
Listen. Keep your mouth shut. Listen. This is a business where you have to do that. You will learn more from someone and take something from everybody. I'm not going to give the best advice on everything, but take some of what I say. Take some of listen to other people. Ask questions. Mm-hmm. You'll never know everything. This is an art form. I mean, it's a sport, but it's art. And you're not going to get, the only way to get better is to listen and to get out there and work. So I would say definitely listen to some old timers like me or older than me. They may have something to offer you that you're not hearing. I definitely would listen.
Total non sequitur transition. Currently, other than what's going on in the world around us, which I think nobody can avoid here, but what is your biggest challenge when it comes to getting back to the ring or just wrestling in general?
For me, I want to be as good as I've always been. I don't want the step slower thing. Mm-hmm. I'll quit before that happens. My motivation is the guys are younger. I went from being the kid in the locker room in 1998 to the only ones older than me are the legends that somebody brings in, a Tommy Rich or
a Steiner like Brothers. Or
yeah. As far as an independent guy, I'm probably the oldest guy in the locker room. So my motivation is to outwork those guys, physically. And it's tough to do because these guys they're acrobats anymore. I mean, guys nowadays in the ring are 5'6", 170 pounds, and I'm not. I'm almost 6'1", 265. I've been 300, and they wouldn't let guys that size in the business 20 years ago. But that's where it's moved to. It has moved to, and even on TV, NXT, stuff like that. They gear toward those guys.
The cruiserweight size.
Yeah, and that's because they're the smart marks. They're the fans. They're and they want to be in the business. But that's my motivation is whoever I'm in the ring with, I want to make you look good. And I want you to leave out of there and you me twice your age and go, yeah, he's pretty damn good still.
I want to go back to kind of like the pre-COVID era here is to kind of put a time stamp on something. You were getting ready to restart your promotion.
Yes.
Trying to get it going. Are you still planning on doing that once we go back to whatever the new normal is going to be?
Yes. Southern States Championship Wrestling was my baby. And we had planned on a show last May. We were already starting the advertisement. Obviously, COVID hit in March, and you couldn't get in a building, nor did you want to, not knowing what's going on. Mm-hmm. Currently, even places that are wrestling now, it's amazing to me if they're drawn or I'll be wrestling April 3rd in Douglas for Pose, but it's just people are scared to come into a building, or some people. And so it's tough. My hope is that by the summer, depending on who you listen to, Fauci, whoever, that this thing slows back enough where we can put it out there and people will actually come. We could obviously do it in an empty building, but that's we want to have a crowd of people. I mean, this is like I look at this like medieval times almost is what wrestling is. The red knight or blue knight, whatever. I mean, you're coming to be entertained, and without the people, there's no wrestling.
No, it's weird to watch those empty house shows, and
it's even weirder to watch the TV screen. I get what they're trying to do with that Thunderdome deal, but that's just as weird. I mean, I'm waiting for like a naked guy eating Cheetos, to be sitting. You know what I mean? Like, but no, without people watching it, we're just guys bumping in a ring.
So hopefully we'll see your promotion. Maybe fingers crossed. Hopefully fall.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, we want to put some.
I'm not trying to put words
in.
in your mouth,
No.
or maybe it's just wishful thinking, Jarrod.
Yeah, no. I mean, we want to go full speed. We've got some other things lined up. We're looking at doing some stuff in Thomasville. There was actually a situation happened over in Bainbridge with an officer. We're looking to try to help them guys out by raising some money. It's like anything else. Once I get in it, I'm head first. I was actually in a band that I can't commit to all the way, so I'm one of those commitment's hard. Maybe that's part of the two divorces.
Right.
But still.
Well, I think the commitment to the marriage is all right. It's
Yeah,
continuing the commitment maybe.
About 8 years is what they get out of me, like a president, man. 8 years and I'm out. But yeah, we've got some irons in the fire we want to work out. It's just a matter of getting in the buildings and people not being afraid to come.
I imagine liability is probably a big issue too.
Yeah, I mean, you hear super spreader and folks are like, they're standoffish. So it's slowing down. I think people have. It's a 99.9%. You hear all this.
Right.
Survival rate doesn't mean people aren't scared of it, and I don't blame them if they are.
Will you continue on with the promotion after you decide to step away from the ring? Because, I mean, you've been doing this 23 years.
I like to work. I don't know.
I guess it's hard.
I couldn't see me running a show and not wrestling on it. So probably not. If my sons, I've got 2 sons and a daughter, if one of them wanted to wrestle, maybe, and I would step back. Or if I got to where I just flat couldn't, and the school came to me and said, hey, we like to run one of the anti-bullying shows or whatever, and I physically could not do it, I would. I don't think I could do a full-time show, schedule and not wrestle on it. I mean, wrestling's my first love. Before I got any of those marriages and a bunch of girlfriends and fiancés and whatever, wrestling was the first love I had, and that's why I keep coming back to it. It's like, you know it's not good for you, but
she's your rebound gal.
Yeah, she's my, and I stick around a little while, and then I take a break. And
so, how long do you think you're going to be sticking with her?
I'm 41. I don't know. We'll see. If I stay in good shape, I mean, I feel good. I'll do it as long as I feel good. I hate to put a number on it.
Right.
Tom
We're trying to get an
on a smaller
exclusive here,
scale.
Jarrod.
Yeah, I know. No, I mean, probably till you and I both decide to quit. How about that? We'll just.
I don't think I will ever go. I've got degenerative back, so I enjoy the nachos and watching, and enjoy doing the podcast with Dorian, and I enjoy doing these interviews.
And that's another thing. When people get tired of seeing you, when you're not any good, I wouldn't want to go out there and embarrass myself. I think most guys wouldn't. If you got to where you can't move and you're not any good, you shouldn't do it. And if I don't know it, hopefully somebody will tell me. Hey, man.
Would you listen to that though?
Probably. I'll know. I'm my biggest critic.
Right.
So, like, if something sucks, I don't have to watch the video. I've never watched myself, believe it or not. Probably won't even watch this because I know how good it was. Like, this has been a good interview, and you should thank me for it even now, but you won't. But you know what I mean? Like, that's just, I mean, if a match sucks.
Right.
If it's not, or if you're slower. So I think I'll probably know. Nobody will have to tell me.
I would say, like you could probably. And I would say this because I did stand up, but I mean, you can have a bad set doesn't mean you're a bad comedian. So, I mean, you can rebound for that. So you may have like a bad match as long as it.
Yeah, but if there's things that you can't do anymore,
right.
if you can't drum, you just can't drum.
Right.
I mean, it's not,
So, is there anything you would want to plug for the fans, for you, anything upcoming? What do you got to promote?
We just got, Georgia wrestling is starting to pick up again. Fingers crossed. April 3rd in Douglas, Pose. It's my first time working with them. My motivation, not even on the flyer. Which I'm one of the biggest. I don't hate saying that. One of the biggest stars.
Do you know who else is on that bill?
Johnny Romano is on it.
Okay.
I don't know a lot of that's because I'm the old guy.
Right.
Like, I don't know the young guys. They all look alike to me. Sorry if you're on the flyer. But you know what I mean? So that's a motivation. So I'm going to go. I wrestle a guy named Robbie Smith. I train him. He's a pretty good worker, but he's from that area. He's not on the flyer either. But just saying.
Are you the dark match? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe so. Maybe we're before the show starts, like before people come in. I don't know how that works. But anyway, so that'll motivate me, that fact that we didn't get on it. And I'll go to the back and let the guy know you should have put me next time.
Right.
If you need a picture, I'll send you one. We got some stuff in North Georgia going on for Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'll be working it. My schedule's about as full as it's been in 10 years, which I love. It's just a matter of getting to it. hopefully we bring some stuff down here to this area again. Valdosta in particular is such a hard town to run.
I see South Georgia. SWA, Spine Buster, and then Pose was going far. Then Brooks Robertson had his promotion going.
Yeah,
and then,
Brooks, and like I said, Brooks is he's taking a break. We do that. Spine Buster does really well, considering this town has been sort of hit or miss with wrestling. It always has been. I've seen some of their stuff, and they're doing well when they run. SWA and Pavo, which doesn't even have a caution light. They draw really well. So I mean, it's coming back. I don't know why, because the TV product sucks, but we'll take it.
I think why it's coming back is you get that one. This is my prediction, and I have nothing to back this up other than just gut and probably a look at history. Is like post the 1919 pandemic, people were just hungry for entertainment, hungry. You had the roaring 20s, and like. One thing I love about going to shows, and we were talking about this earlier, is one, the fans really get into it. And if you've never been to like Pavo show where everything is just rocking and the thing, and like those fans are just in the wrestler's face in Colorado, that's just as much as important as what goes on inside the ring. So again, why knowing how to work that, going back to what you were saying earlier, and there's some great, and I'm excited because we've seen some great young talent here, and it's exciting to see them kind of start get some heat and start get some traction and do some traveling, because it's just exciting to see those people work up the ranks and move up from these indies into the mid majors and move on, and then hopefully you're going to see them kind of move into one of the bigger promotions.
We've had guys do that. Byron Saxton, his first match was with us, and he went on, and I mean he's announcing, but he could work a little bit, but it got his start. I tell people about the wrestling that go to them. I talk to folks that, you wouldn't think are wrestling fans, and they'll tell you they're not. They got small kids. They eat Grey Poupon mustard.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I tell them, I promise you, if you'll take your kids, by the second match, they're running up to the ring trying to slap hands with these guys with the rest of the kids. I mean, kids like it.
Yeah.
And if you put on a good show that the families will come back to, I personally like the sex and rock and roll part of it. But you can't get kids to come to it.
No.
If you want to entertain me, the scantily clad.
Right, Attitude Era type stuff.
Yeah, but and that does sell to me, but that's me alone. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So nobody's doing that. Most wrestling shows you go to are geared toward kids. They're pretty clean, and I tell people that take your kids to a show, even if you don't like wrestling, and they'll enjoy it for the money.
For the money, I think for value for money too. So you're going to pay anywhere, I don't know, $7, $10, $12 maybe, and you get a couple hot dogs. You can't go to a sporting event cheaper than going to one of those events. And
it's a night out, and you can make it. You don't have to go to all of them.
No.
But you may end up liking it. You may, we had people that caught on, and they were there every time we were there. So.
Final question I want to ask you, Jarrod. What does it take for a good match, in your opinion?
Good match to me is one that's got plenty of physicality, and you keep it moving, but don't do moves for no reason. For interacting with the crowd, they obviously have to be into it and tap into the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I think two guys have to tell a story. They have to get it, but you can't stand there with a wrist lock for 30 minutes. That's not going to work. So you got to keep it moving. That's probably my biggest thing. Keep it moving, but at the same time, tap into the emotion. Facial expressions by the guys working back and two, and really just bring the people along with the ride the whole time. Don't leave them behind. Don't do too much and get lost in it. And be able to change up and switch gears. If it's not working, be able to go to something else. Because sometimes they're not going to dig. These guys that I see that plan their whole match out in the back, and I'm like, that may not work and then you have nowhere to go. So if you can't call it out there, it's not going. You're not going to be really good at it. So be able to change up and call an audible, I guess. But the ability to do that and then bring the crowd along with it and bring them to the finish, because the finish is the biggest thing. You can have a good beginning. The middle can be a crap sandwich, if it has to be. Hopefully not. But make the ending memorable. If you can do that and they remember how good the ending was and you brought them along with that emotional ride. I know it sounds crazy in a tough line of work with a bunch of backstabbing, bitter old SOBs. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I think that makes the best match. I mean, I think, and make a good finish. I think that'd be it.
Cool. Super good to know, and I think that's probably good advice too for young
listen.
up and comers. That you're
That's
talking
right.
about saying you need to listen to occasional nugget of advice from a veteran in the ring. But I want to thank you for taking time and coming down here and doing this. And I want to tell you, if you like what we do, check us out. We're on Podbean. Also, like, follow, subscribe, tell, scream, yell, let everybody know about the Professors of Wrestling. Feeling like we're on the verge of coming back. We've got a lot of great interviews planned up here in the near future. So check us out. Don't keep us a secret. South Georgia Wrestling is coming back, and is coming back strong, baby.